Tonight, before you close your eyes, you will probably scroll through your phone, watch something on a screen, or lie in bed with the light still on. You will fall asleep in one long block and wake up to an alarm. This feels completely normal to you. But if you could go back 50,000 years and watch your own ancestors settle down for the night, you would not recognize a single thing they did. Because for almost all of human history, the night was not a problem to be solved. It was a world of its own. So what did ancient humans actually do when the sun went down? The answer is stranger, richer, and more human than you might expect. The night was dark. Truly dark. First, you have to understand something that modern people almost never experience. Real darkness. Not the kind where you can still see the outline of your furniture. Not the kind where a streetlight glows through your curtains. Ancient humans lived in darkness so complete that on a cloudy night, you could not see your hand in front of your face. The only light that existed was fire, the moon, and the stars. That was it. For hundreds of thousands of years, every single human being on this planet went through this every night. And yet, they did not simply fall asleep and wait for morning. The night was alive for them in ways we have completely forgotten. Fire was everything. The first thing ancient humans did at night was build and protect a fire. This sounds simple. It was not. Fire was not just warmth. Fire was survival. Researchers studying early human campsites have found evidence of controlled fire going back nearly 1 million years. And the effect of fire on human life was total. A campfire creates a circle of safety. Inside that circle, predators stay away. Lions, leopards, hyenas, all of them fear fire. Outside that circle, the night belongs to them. So every evening, the first job was to get the fire going and keep it alive. Wood had to be collected before dark. Someone had to watch it through the night. The fire was never just background. It was the center of everything. But here is what scientists did not expect. Fire did not just protect ancient humans at night. It gave them extra time. Before fire, when the sun went down, life stopped. You hid, you stayed still, you waited for morning. Fire changed that. Suddenly there were 2 to 4 extra hours every single night. And ancient humans used those hours in a way that changed the entire course of our species. This is perhaps the most important thing ancient humans did at night. They sat around the fire and they talked. But not the way we talk during the day. An anthropologist named Polly Wiesner spent years studying one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer communities on Earth, the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. She recorded thousands of conversations and noticed something remarkable. During the day, about 80% of conversations were practical. Who is hunting where? Which plants are ready to pick? Arguments about food and resources. Daytime talk was work. But at night, around the fire, everything changed. At night, 81% of conversations were stories. Stories about people who lived far away. Stories about brave hunts and strange journeys. Myths about how the world was made. Jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Stories about the dead, about spirits, about what happens after we are gone. Wiesner believed this is where human culture was actually born. The campfire at night was the first classroom. The first theater. The first church. It was the place where humans learned to imagine things that did not exist yet, to think about people they had never met, to feel emotions about events that had not happened to them. Storytelling at night is what made us fully human. Children sat and listened. Elders passed on knowledge. Young people learned the history of their people not from books but from voices in the firelight. Everything a community knew, everything it believed, everything it valued, it carried in those nighttime stories. Lose the stories and you lose the people. They slept differently than you do. Here is something that will genuinely surprise you. Ancient humans did not sleep the way you sleep. They did not go to bed and stay there until morning in one long block of unconsciousness. They slept in two separate pieces. For most of human history, people went to sleep shortly after sunset. They slept for about 4 hours. Then they woke up. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night. Then they went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This was not insomnia. This was completely normal. Historian Roger Ekirch spent 16 years digging through historical documents and found over 500 references to this pattern across centuries. Prayer books from the 1400s mentioned it. Court records referred to it. Ordinary people wrote about it in letters and diaries. They called the first phase, first sleep, and the second phase, second sleep. The quiet time in between had its own name too. They called it, the watch. And what did people do during the watch? Everything. They prayed. They thought about their dreams while the images were still fresh. They visited neighbors. Couples spent time together. People lay quietly in the dark and simply thought about their lives. A medical manual from the 1500s actually recommended the watch as the best time to study and reflect, calling it the hour when the mind was calm and the world was still. A psychiatrist named Thomas Ware confirmed all of this in 1992. He took volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives for 1 month, giving them 14 hours of darkness every night, just as ancient humans would have experienced. Within weeks, every single participant settled into the same two-phase sleep pattern on their own. Nobody told them to. Their bodies simply remembered. Ware measured their hormone levels during the wake period and found something extraordinary. The participants were in a unique state of consciousness. Their brains were producing high levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation. They described feeling deeply calm, reflective, and peaceful. It was not a gap in sleep. It was its own separate state of mind, as real and as meaningful as sleep itself. A state that almost no modern human ever experiences. They watched the sky. Ancient humans also did something at night that we have almost entirely given up. They watched the stars. Not as a hobby. As a necessity. The night sky was a calendar, a map, and a clock. The position of certain stars told you what season it was and when to plant or harvest. The movement of the moon told you how many days had passed. The stars guided hunters who traveled far from camp. They guided travelers crossing open land. The sky was information, and reading it was a skill every person in the community needed. But it was more than just practical. Ancient humans looked up at the Milky Way every single night. Not because they drove to a national park to see it. Because it was simply the sky. That dense river of stars above them was the ceiling of their world. And in many ancient cultures, the stories they told around the fire were about those stars. The stars and the stories were connected. The night sky and the nighttime tales were one system, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. The night was sacred in many ancient communities. The night was not just a time to rest. It was a time to connect with something larger. Rituals happened at night. Ceremonies happened in the dark. The boundary between the living world and the spirit world was believed to be thinner after sunset. Fire played a central role in these rituals too. Specific fires were lit for specific purposes. Certain songs were only sung at night. Certain stories were only told after dark. The night held a kind of power that the day did not. And ancient humans treated that power with deep respect. What we lost when electric light arrived in the late 1800s, the night changed forever. Within a single generation, cities flooded the dark with artificial light. The two-phase sleep disappeared. The campfire conversations disappeared. The star-watching disappeared. The watch, that quiet sacred hour between first sleep and second sleep, vanished as if it had never existed. Today, people lie awake at 2 in the morning and call it a disorder. They take medication to force themselves into one solid block of unconsciousness. They never sit in complete darkness together and tell stories. They never watch the Milky Way from their front door. Ancient humans did all of that. Every single night. For hundreds of thousands of years. The night was not empty time waiting for morning. It was the most human part of the day. It was where culture was born, where knowledge was passed on, where the mind found its deepest quiet, and where people felt connected to each other and to something much bigger than themselves. We traded all of that for a light switch. And most of us never even knew what we were giving up.